So let's continue with the tutorial 3.1 of unit 3, which is about the hallucinations, reasoning errors and biases. We'll briefly understand about hallucinations, reasoning errors and biases, and then in the upcoming tutorials we'll understand it in more detail. So let's quickly understand the defects in the generative AI systems, which is basically that AI systems can hallucinate, can have the reasoning error, can have the biases. All of these are the defects that might be present in the large language model or generative AI that you are using. How we'll understand that? For example, generative AI systems, especially the large language models, are prone to certain defects, which are hallucinations. These are the categories. So reasoning errors might be there, the biases might be there, and this will have the impact on testing. When we say hallucination, what exactly it is? LLM generates the output that appears factually incorrect or irrelevant to a given task. So for example, you are trying to generate the test cases for certain requirement, and LLM is actually not considering the requirement or the context that you are trying to establish, that you are trying to ask for, that I want the test cases for login scenario and the requirement, specific requirement details that are mentioned in this user story, and you provide that user story. But LLM actually generates the test cases which are generic for the login scenario. Whatever it has learned based on the training data, it's providing that. So hallucination is something around that context wherein factually incorrect answer or irrelevant answers are being provided by the LLM. Then you have the reasoning errors. So logical mistakes in the analysis or test case generation are possible by the generative AI or the large language model as well. Biases are there. So outputs influenced by the skewed training data or assumptions. So say for example, the model is being trained on English only data, or basically the language was just English. So obviously this model won't be able to generalize from any other language context, or if the data that was being fed is of a specific demography and specific sector of people, then obviously the biases will be there in the large language model because it hasn't learned based on the widespread data that it should have been trained upon. So you have to look for the biases in the response as well in the large language models. How these defects, hallucination, reasoning error, biases can have impact in the testing. So the impact of these defects on testing is that generated testware may fail to meet expectation. So whatever is being generated by the model might not be sufficient, might not be good enough for it to be used in your actual project, right? It is not up to the standard and marks. Then the quality of the test task is reduced if you are having these defects, the biases, reasoning errors, etc. So you can't go ahead and straight away use those responses into your project. You have to work a lot on those responses, and in that case it's better to actually use your intelligence, use your own intelligence to actually create the testware rather than relying on those faulty large language models. Then testers, as a tester, you should spot and correct these defects before relying on output, and that's where it becomes really important about the risk, understanding of the risk, about the regulations, about the defects, and why you as a tester need to check each and every output and outcome of the LLM before actually using it in your project. Okay, so that's the detail we are going to understand in the upcoming tutorials. Thank you. See you in the next one.